Hi, it's Rich Tehrani with TMCnet. Thanks for watching. This week we are in Santa Clara, California at Editors Week, TMCnet's Editors Week 2016. And Kevin Deierling is with us. He's with Mellanox Technologies. Kevin, welcome. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
So I've known your company for many years. High-speed networking is what I think of when I think of your company. Is that accurate? Is there more to it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We started off in a heritage of high-performance computing with a technology called InfiniBand, and we are the leading provider of InfiniBand technology. We just announced this week a new HDR technology, which is 200 gigabits per second, so really a tremendous amount of performance. But we've actually expanded now in other markets with Ethernet technology into cloud and storage as well.
Very cool, very cool. So if you had to give me like an overview of the kind of company that would buy from you or customer, let's try to categorize that.
Sure. So our customers are the largest data centers in the world. The number one supercomputer in the world runs on our internet, our network technology, switches, adapters, and cables. The largest cloud and Web 2.0 data centers in the world. So if you're familiar with the sort of who's who, they're sometimes called the Super 7, those types of companies are the ones that deploy our networking more and more on the Ethernet side, not just the InfiniBand side.
Oh, that's exciting. So the expansion's going well.
Yeah, so our business has grown very nicely. We just reported earnings last month. We've grown at about a 30% CAGR over the last 3 years, much of that driven by storage, cloud, enterprise. And on top of that, our HPC business is still growing nicely, where we're introducing new products all the time.
And the need for speed is not going to decrease?
Absolutely not. One of the things that we see driving this is more and more data. I was at a conference where Google was talking about the fact that the amount of data is doubling every year. And on top of that, so we need bigger pipes to move more data. The other thing we're seeing is faster storage. So we're seeing a migration from hard disk drives to solid state drives, so flash drives. And faster storage needs faster networking. So across the board, we've introduced 25 gig Ethernet now, 50 gig Ethernet, 100 gig Ethernet. And we have people that are really using this today in applications that everybody's familiar with.
That's very exciting. So in terms of the pain you take away from customers, basically you allow much greater performance in their computing.
Yeah, but it's really about more than performance. We call it total infrastructure efficiency. So if you look, the most expensive part of your infrastructure is the compute, the memory, and the storage. Okay? The networking is something we believe that will actually make everything else much, much more efficient. And if you look at the reason that we have 86% market share in the greater than 10 gig Ethernet space, it's because those hyperscale customers who are deploying hundreds of thousands of servers and storage platforms, they need to get the most out of their infrastructure. And so by giving them this higher performance network, we're actually giving them total infrastructure efficiency where they get more out of their servers and their storage, which is really the most expensive thing in the data center.
That's very exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
So what's next for the company? What else should we know?
So we've actually acquired a company this year called EasyChip. They do network processors, so NPUs. So we're really moving into the telecommunications space, edge routers, security, load balancing, deep packet inspection. There was just this DDoS attack, this distributed denial of service attack on the East Coast that shut the internet down. We have products through the EasyChip, our NPUs and NPS products that can process 400 gigabits per second of data. Looking inside of every packet, we'll be able to detect that an attack is occurring and mitigate against that attack before others have even had a chance to realize that an attack is occurring.
So how would you mitigate?
So one of the ways we can mitigate is just to redirect the traffic or drop the traffic. I call it a Pyrrhic victory. Then people start using software to actually try to mitigate a denial of service attack. In the case of this most recent attack, it was actually a DNS server, and they were looking at every packet. But the problem was they weren't doing their real job, which was to serve out IP addresses from a DNS. And so what we're able to do is say, hey, we recognize that's an attacker. Don't bother to the processor with that information, because this is a bad connection. This is a known bad guy. And so we just drop the traffic, and we never throw it up to the processor, because otherwise, if you're trying to do everything in software, this is the trade-off that we see. People are doing NFV. They want to have the flexibility that we provide our cloud customers to do everything in software. but you need to do that without penalties. So that's what we're delivering is, network function virtualization, NFV, without the performance penalties.
Great. What else should we know?
So we also have a pretty significant business in silicon photonics and optics and cables. So we acquired 2 companies in 2013. It turns out that moving data at the speeds that we're talking about, 25 gigabits per second, 100 gigabits per second, is actually pretty hard across the cabling and the infrastructure. And so we're doing that now with silicon photonics. We publicly talked about the fact that with our 100 gig VCSEL-based solutions and SR4 cables, we're shipping tens of thousands of units every quarter. So this stuff is deploying widely. Companies like Netflix have talked publicly about using the 100 gigabit Ethernet that we're delivering. We think 25 is the new 10. So people are going to migrate straight from 10 gig to 25 gig today, and we're excited about that.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here. This was great.
Absolutely. Great to catch up.